Hey everyone, how we doing today? This is James Sweeney, aka SplitSuit. Welcome back to another video. And as part of the Ask SplitSuit a Question series, a couple people did ask hand history questions, and this one actually came via YouTube. And Clatterpinch prefaces the hand by saying, I have a question about a hand I played the other day at full ring 25 no limit on Bovada. I feel like I played this hand fine, but was wondering if there was any improvement to be had. Okay, so in this hand there is an open limp from EP2, and he is a 67-0 over 6 hands. Here obviously he decides to isolate. Love the fact that we're doing that. Just wish the size were a bit bigger. I'd probably go to something like $1.25, $1.50, totally for value here. We end up facing a small 3-bet from the cutoff, who is a 21-9 with a 3-bet of 8% over 115 hands, and it folds to EP2, who decides to call. So some people may get here, they're going to look at the cutoff 3-bet percentage of 8%, and they're going to say, well, he's obviously 3-betting not nitty, so I'm just going to come over the top and 4-bet, or I'm definitely giving action, or whatever it is. And I just want to point out real quick that that 8% 3-bet is likely just a single 3-bet over that sample size. So it's probably not a situation where he has an 8% 3-bet range when he 3-bets here. In fact, I would say that that's probably very liberal of a thought process. So he is, running 21-9. It's a pretty big gap in the VPIP PFR, which means I assume a decent amount of passivity. A single 3-bet over 115 hands doesn't seem like a lot to me. So because of that, I'm not going to freak out and say, oh my god, he must be 3-betting really 8% of hands here. I highly doubt that's the case. But we are getting roughly 5.5 to 1 on a call. We are closing action. We get involved with a fish and a single SPR pot, which is going to be pretty easy. So I'm okay calling here, going from there. We end up flopping top air, top kicker. Check, pot size C-bet from the cutoff, fold, and here we are. So I just want to say a couple of different things here. First and foremost is I really start making my decision now. Simply because if we call, it's going to be about 15 in the middle, about 30 something back. So there's not going to be a ton of play and flexibility left, and we're getting closer and closer to commitment. So the closer and closer we're getting to commitment, the more and more we want to create that plan early, and obviously we want to make sure that it's going to be a profitable plan. The second big thing that I want to talk about real quick are the combos. So if we look at this, and let's just say we thought the cutoff preflop was 3-betting like queens plus ace king. Let's just assume that for a quick moment. Well, if we think about that, how many combos of huge hands can he have here? Well, there's one combo of queens left, okay? Because we have an ace in our hand, it blocks his 6 combos of aces down to 3, so we're up to 4 combos. There are 6 combos of pocket kings, so we're at 10 combos of nutted hands. If we look at ace king, there are how many of those? Well, we have an ace in our hands, so we're going to block that down. That blocks it down to 12 combos. So assuming that we think that he would c-bet that entire range, which I think is decently fair to say, that puts us in a situation where we're doing plenty fine. We have equity the times that he does have kings, obviously that's great for us, and other times when he has ace king, we're obviously ahead now and he has very few outs, and that's obviously great for us as well. And it's just really difficult for someone to have the nuts. So because of that, I'm not folding here, and I'm pretty much calling with intentions on getting a little bit stickier. I'm not super thrilled about going stacks, or especially deeper stacks with 140, 150 big blinds to start against a passive fish when I have something like top pair, but by the same token, there's plenty of situations where it's going to be totally good. And again, you have to make that decision early because we're getting closer and closer to commitment as this hand rolls out. And then one final note that I want to talk about right this moment is twofold. One, if he decides to maybe not c-bet ace king here all the time, obviously that's going to skew his range further and further against us, which is not going to be good. The other thing to consider is that obviously queens plus ace king is like the nutted side of a 3-bet range. So if he ever 3-bets other things, jacks, tens, all that kind of stuff, all we're doing is adding more and more combos that we do better and better against. So, and I always start by looking at a worst case scenario, and queens plus ace king is definitely kind of the worst case scenario as far as a 3-bet range is concerned. And if we're doing fine there, we're doing even better as he widens up his 3-bet range. So at least keep that in mind as well. So jack on the turn, not the greatest card in the world, but not the worst card either. We check, he decides to bet, and at this point we're getting just shy of 3 to 1 on a call. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. So I ask myself one question, and it's a very important question when I get to this turn in a 3-bet pot like this. And my question is simply this: would he continue betting ace king? Because if he's going to continue betting ace king, again, we're having that similar conversation that we did on the flop. It's very difficult for him to have a big hand here. There are a decent amount of combos of ace king in there, and because of that, I'm going to call and continue giving action. However, if he's the kind of person that is just going to check behind ace king, he's like, oh man, he just called me on the flop, the turn doesn't do anything, so I don't think I can get him to fold anymore, and then he'll knock back with ace king, then all of a sudden his turn betting range might be a little bit too strong for me. So again, we have to make that decision right this moment. Now, the more aggressive that someone is, the more I'm assuming they're going to continue banging away with ace king, and the more and more comfortable I'm going to be giving action just like Hero did. However, I at least want you to understand that if you think he's really the kind of guy that's just not going to fire again with ace king, that check folding the turn has a lot of validity in it. Because again, if we call here, we have 35 in the middle, 21 effective going into the river. We're getting a good price on a river shove, and we're probably going to have to call that. So at least keep that in mind. Again, the closer and closer you get to commitment, the more and more of a plan you have to have. And as played, once Hero calls, I'm pretty much in check call mode, unless of course that happens. That is by far and away the worst card that could have rolled off, and we actually end up getting a little lucky in the sense that the cutoff decides to check behind with actually that exact hand. So we end up losing this pot, but ultimately that's not what's important. What's really important is that we played all the streets leading up to it well, and I'd say pre-flop looked fine. Again, size could have been a little bit bigger on the isolation. The flop looked okay, again, as long as you're making that plan early. The turn looked okay as long as you were planning on check calling rivers, except for maybe exactly that one. But other than that, everything looked okay. But again, the thought process and what goes into making those calls on the flop and turn are really important. Just make sure that you're always thinking ahead, again, thinking about ranges and making sure that your hand is performing well against a range rather than just, oh my god, I has top pair, top kicker. Again, we want that thought process to be a little bit more deep and involved. So Clatterpinch, thanks for the great hand, and if you or anyone else has a poker-related hand or question, feel free to leave it on our Google Plus page. I'll leave a link for that in the description box, and also please make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these types of videos. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Otherwise, good luck out there, and happy grinding.